Hi, and welcome to a new edition of the Power Talks for Remarkable Females. I am here with my co-host, Melissa Daly, and Melissa is an integrative mind-body health practitioner, a trainer of NLP, a timeline therapy and hypnotherapy coach, and she is dedicated to help clients detox and heal their physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. As the co-founder of Amplify Impact Academy, Melissa trains others in mind-body healing modalities to expand her impact. And as an international speaker and five-time best-selling author, she hosts the award-winning Don't Wait for the Wake Up Call podcast. Melissa, welcome. I am super stoked to have you here. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Helena. And I'm so excited to be here to have this conversation with you.
Likewise, today's topic is, and I love your title, Are You Living on Victim Island or in Solution City? And you are the right person to talk about this because in my Boundary Breakers Collective talk show, which is also available on many, many platforms, you were one of my guests and you were talking about how not to be the victim in a very specific medical procedure, right? Where you basically designed your own protocol and I thought, yeah, I can only imagine that you bring this topic and that you have so much wisdom and strategies to share with us here. And for anybody listening in, welcome. We are thrilled to have you here. This is live streamed, and we invite you to share your experiences, your feedback, your questions here on the comments. And even if you're listening in on the replay, which will be available for everybody on LinkedIn and on YouTube, just put anything you want in the comments because we will monitor them and we will get back to you. And connect with us. Connect with Melissa on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. And then you stay in the loop for everything we have to bring. So, Melissa, where do you want to start?
Well, I would love to start with the fact that this talk today is really, it's a life lesson for people. And everything that I'm sharing, I didn't know when I was in the corporate world. It took me losing my job after 24 years and being given an hour to clear out my desk, no word of thanks, to step into a personal growth and transformation journey for myself. And that's when I started learning and taking more courses and becoming designated as a trainer in these mind-body healing modalities for me to really gain understanding of the power of our mind and the perspective of how when we shift that mindset, it shifts everything in our life. And so coming back to what you were talking about, Victim Island or Solution City, because I did have a medical diagnosis that's quite scary, metastatic melanoma in my lower right leg, I could go into fear. I could go into Victim Island. That's what often happens. And that's kind of how we've been programmed by society. And yet I had all of these tools to use so that I didn't go there. And instead, what I did was ask myself a question, which is a key question. And that is, how is this happening for me? And that's because everything is always happening for us so that we can learn something. And I'm going to say that again.
So it's not like happening to us. It's not the universe doing this to us or the system doing this to us. And we are the victims and we cannot help what is happening. We have no control. We have no possibility to change it, right?
Exactly. And I know that for people listening that might be in the midst of the crap right now, and if they feel like it's happening to them, to rise up and say, how is this happening for me? What am I supposed to learn? Because really, we're put on this planet for three things: to never stop learning. We're always supposed to continue learning and growing, to be of service to others, and to find our mission and our passion. And when we have those three things, we can fully thrive. And when we recognize that things are happening for us, it shifts our mindset so profoundly. And it allows us to get out of that victim state so that we can get off Victim Island and move over to Solution City. Now, in Victim Island, we've all been there. And
Of
even with the
course.
tools, we will always continue to go there. However, with the tools and with the awareness and the recognition, we can get off Victim Island faster next time and back to Solution City. But on Victim Island is where it's woe is me, poor me. You're inviting all your friends over for a margarita party so they can all hear your sob story. There's a lot of blame, there's a lot of drama, and there's a lot of repetition of the story.
Yeah.
And here's another reality. We get what we focus on. I'm going to say that again.
Absolutely.
We get
Yeah.
what we focus on. So if we're on Victim Island, focusing on our sob story, repeating it over and over again, we get more of it. And that's not really what we want. So with awareness, we can go, oh, oop, I'm repeating the story. I'm feeling sorry for myself. I'm on Victim Island. I'm having my pity party. Okay, no more. How is this happening for me? So that we can get the answers and the resources in order to move ourselves off Victim Island and over to Solution City. And the first time we do that, it's going to feel hard because it's not what we're used to. And anytime something's new, it feels hard and it takes practice. It's going to feel like we're in a rowboat rowing across the ocean from Victim Island all the way to Solution City. And when we get there, though, it's amazing because in Solution City, you're living in a high-rise condo with incredible views of the beach, and all of the restaurants are fabulous. And you can go into any store and you can put on your personal power suit for free. It's where you are standing in your power. It's where you are the creator of your life. It's where you take responsibility for everything in your life, that you co-created it. Some of the co-creation is happening outside your awareness because limiting decisions in your unconscious mind. And that's okay because we can change things to tweak the neurology so that you can release the limiting decision. However, just to recognize that you co-created it. And next time, you can co-create something differently.
It is taking responsibility for that process, which is sometimes even harder than to accept and acknowledge that you are in on Victim Island. And by the way, hi Lexi and hi, welcome here. Feel free to join us in the comments with your stories or your questions. You know, Melissa, today I had a kind of coaching conversation with somebody that said, you know, I don't know what to do anymore. I am completely clueless. Everything I have been doing is disrupted. It's disrupted by the system. It's disrupted. Well, first, it was disrupted by COVID, and then it was disrupted by the system, and then it was disrupted by economy. And I say, yeah, I understand that that happens. This is basically, yeah, I want everything to stay the same. I don't want all these changes. And I was asking, but how can you describe life differently than a constant evolution, a constant growth and constant changes, especially in the era that we are now? And he really felt a victim. He really felt a victim. And it was very difficult to support him and to help him to see that basically we can do other things. We have opportunities, we have possibilities, because I believe when you are in this victim mindset, you are also in your reptilian brain, where you are so limited in terms of what you can do. I mean, we all know this fight, flight, or paralyze reaction. And I see so many people that like are from an idea and a feeling of scarcity, they go in this protect modus and they close down and they don't see opportunities. So first of all, I believe that it's very, very important that you find people to have that have your back to support you in that and to have the conversation and to help you to reframe and refocus and redirect. But even if you have that, or when you don't have that, Melissa, what are like some keys to unlock or to start the motor of that boat that goes from Victim Island to Solution City? What are the things that you can do to get there?
So I'll give you a couple of things that are very simple and create very profound change. And I also want to say that when people are feeling stuck, they're in what I call their conscious mind, which is only 10% of their mind. And they're trying to think their way out of it.
Exactly.
However, the conscious mind, because it's only 10% of the mind, it doesn't have all the resources. It doesn't have all the solutions. In fact, it's our higher self that has all the solutions. When we come into this world, it has our blueprint of perfect health, and it has the blueprint of all the resources we need in order to truly step into our magnificence and be the person that we came here to be. However, the conscious mind cannot connect directly to the higher self. It must go through the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is the other 90% of our mind. It's the home of our memories. It's the home of our imagination. It's the home of all the creativity, because that's where the imagination is. It's the home of our emotional body, right? And yet society teaches us to be in our thinking mind. That's what we're taught to be in, going through the school system, etc. And so people haven't learned the tools and the resources of working with the unconscious mind so we can access the resources for what it is that we want, right? And so that's what I love sharing with people, and in our training programs, teaching that to people and giving them the profound tools that allow them to access the unconscious mind and access all the resources. Now, some very quick tools that people can use starting right away to start to, move up from the rowboat to the sea-doo and then to the motorboat is, first of all, it starts with awareness. It's awareness of how you're thinking.
Yeah.
Because, again, our mind is so powerful. And my favorite quote is by Henry Ford: "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." So what are you thinking? Are you thinking you can, or are you thinking you can't? And you may not even know. So you want to start to become aware of how you're thinking. And as you start to notice how you're thinking, every time you notice you have a negative thought, you want to put up a stop sign. Like, hold your hand up as if it's a popsicle stick stop sign and just stop that thought. Or what I like to do is put a cross up and say, cancel, cancel, cancel. So that thought doesn't go in and build neurology. Because every time we have the same thought over and over again, we deepen that neurology. And we don't want to deepen the neurology of the things we don't want.
Yeah.
So we want to start to become aware of the negative thoughts. And when we have them, we put up the stop sign, and then we switch it to a positive thought, which is very often the exact opposite of the negative thought. I love to ask people, are you running the horror show or the love story? The love story is when you literally talk to yourself as if you talk to someone you love. You're beautiful, you're smart, you're capable, you're intelligent, you're powerful, etc., etc. Or are you talking yourself down and saying you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not clever enough, etc.? Cancel, cancel, cancel. Think about how you talk to the people in your life that you love, how you talk to your children. Talk to yourself that way. And as you start to become aware of your thinking, are you actually talking to yourself the way that you should and love yourself? Or are you talking to yourself in a horror story? And the stop sign will start to change that. Because each time you have that negative thought, you switch it to a positive one.
Yeah.
And initially, it'll take a little bit of effort to start becoming aware of your thoughts. Then you're going to have a whole lot of stop signs. Because let's face it, every single human does as you go through this process. Totally normal. And then you'll notice you don't have to put the stop sign up as much, because you're naturally training your brain to start thinking the positive thoughts about yourself. And alongside that, another tool that I love is a gratitude journal.
Absolutely.
And what I love to do is do my gratitude right before I go to bed at night, because your unconscious mind works on whatever you feed it right before bed. So if you feed it the news, the 11 o'clock news, and then you turn out the light and go to sleep, your unconscious mind is working on whatever it heard on the news for the rest of the night. And you might toss and turn all night and wake up feeling tired. I like to feed it gratitude, because then it has happy thoughts to go to sleep on, and I get a deeper restorative sleep. Now, what's happening here with the gratitude journal is we start to reprogram our RAS, which is the reticular activating system. That's like the sentinel of our brain. Our reticular activating system is on the lookout for whatever we program it with. So we are going to program it with positivity. We are going to program it with gratitude by doing a gratitude journal. As you mentioned earlier, our reptilian brain, it's programmed to keep us alive. Therefore, it's looking for danger so that it can keep you safe. Now, in today's world, we don't need to worry about a lion coming around the corner or a tiger chasing us thinking we're going to be its next meal. So we don't have to have our reptilian brain on such high alert. And living in a stressed out world and being in chronic stress, it's on high alert. And we need to reprogram it with the positivity of gratitude so that instead of looking for danger, your RAS is starting to look for the good things that happen in your day that you can write in your journal at night. And you start to notice them because you're looking for them. Whereas before you weren't, before you were just looking for danger and then you were focusing on the danger and the negative. Now you're focusing on the positive. And remember I said, you get more of what you focus on. So that allows more focus, more positive to come into your life.
Yeah, and absolutely. It's reprogramming your brain and focusing on what you like you say, in this case, you focus on gratitude. It's a little bit like when you have bought a red sports car, suddenly everything you see is a red sports car because you like filter what you see and all the impulses to what is keeping us busy, basically. I like that. I add
Exactly.
that the gratitude exercise at night, I combine with the intention exercise in the morning, and I
Yes.
make that balance. And those are two very short practices and exercises that have an enormous impact. And not only for
Yes.
us, because I know quite some women, mainly, that do that also with their children.
Mm-hmm.
Because also for even young children and for adolescents, it's very difficult sometimes in the judgmental world that we live in to see the positive things and to build that confidence and that positivity. And so doing this together with a partner or with your children or as a family, I think is also a very, very beautiful practice
It
instead of
is.
Netflix
It is
late
a
night,
very,
right?
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And,
Mm,
every single person that I've spoken to that has gone through some significant trauma in their life, when they come out the other side, I always ask them, are you grateful that you went through that? And the
mm,
answer every time is yes. And
yeah.
it's because they learned what they needed to learn going through it. And
Yeah.
now they're a
Mm,
different person on the other side. And they recognize I wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't gone through it. I'm
yeah.
grateful that I did get let go after 24 years in the corporate world with an hour to clear out my desk.
Yeah.
I look back at that with gratitude because after that, I got guided into this new career that I would have never gone into if that hadn't happened.
Yeah.
And
Melissa, I love this question of Lexi. And she asks, how do we honor and validate our feelings without ruminating on them and landing in the victim mindset? I will show it here for those of us
yes,
that are watching.
so it's a really great question. And I want to refer you to the work of a fellow named Sydney Banks. And he talks about the three principles of thought, mind, and consciousness. And really, what it comes down to is that we have a choice as to whether we ruminate on every thought or we let it go. And he likens
Mhm.
it to the clouds in the sky and the sun. They're always there. And we watch those clouds float on by. We can actually let our thoughts float on by. If it's a negative thought, go, nope, I'm not going to put any focus on that thought and let it float on by. We literally have 70,000 thoughts every single day.
Mhm.
And my mentor has a meme, and it's a flowing waterfall, and all the water represents all the thoughts coming into our mind. And then along the river are these beautiful lily pads, and some of the lily pads have the poop emoji on them. And there's a man on the side of the river leaning down and picking up and smelling a poop emoji. It's our choice if we want to spend time focusing on the poopy thoughts, or we just let them float on by. And again, easier said than done. However, just understanding that you have the ability to choose which thoughts you want to focus on
and
is the step in the right direction. And it allows you to start recognizing, I don't want to focus on that thought. I'm going to let it go.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's not only focusing, sometimes we really identify with our thoughts, like identify with our feelings, and we don't understand that we might be thinking something completely differently in one day or 1 month or 1 year. I mean, it's just the event, and we resist or we reject the event because most of the times we don't like the experience or the feelings that that event gives us, and so we go in resistance and we spend a lot of energy on that and around that. And this ruminating is also ruminating and resentment are two things that we are doing a lot. It's like you said, it's like we are wired that way. And the thing is, and you make it also very clear, is that we can rewire that. We can make that choice.
Yes, and it comes back to what I said earlier. When we keep focusing on the same thing, it deepens the neurology, right?
Yeah.
And we don't, when it's a negative thought, we don't want to do that, which is why we want to let it float on by. Now, to further answer that question, Lexi, I'm going to explain a system, the whole system that I train people on. So think of the fact that as we go through our day, we are taking in 12 million bits per second of information every single day. And that is far too much for our brain to be able to cope with. And so it has to compress that down to a manageable amount, which is only 128. Now that's a huge compression from 12 million to 128 plus or minus 2. And it does that through our filters. Now, all humans have the same categories of filters, and they are how we move through time, space, matter, energy, our language, our memories, our decisions, our values, our beliefs, and our meta programs, or the basis of our personality. Those are the categories of our filters that we all have. The content stored within those filters, though, are as different as our fingerprints because no two of us have lived identical lives. So as our unconscious mind is compressing all of this information down in the split second, is literally going, keep that, release this, keep that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, keep that, based on our filters and our reticular activating system, until it gets it down to 128 bits per second. And that's what's important to us. And then from there, it creates the memory, the vision in our mind of that event when we pull it back up. That impacts how we feel. If it was a positive event, we feel happy. If it was a sad event, we feel sad, right? How we feel impacts our physiology. How we feel also impacts our behavior. Because if we're feeling tired, we're not going to take on the same type of behavior than if we're feeling really energized. So this is a whole system. And what the tools that we have is timeline therapy is where we can actually change those filters. So if your filters have you running that horror show, we can shift the filters in order to have it run the love story so that that memory in your mind's eye comes out positive for you and has you feeling happy, joyful, peaceful, whatever it is. And it shifts the behavior, it shifts the outcomes for you. And so this is how we shift the neurology, if that's what we need to do. And for some people, many people, in fact, I believe if every single person on the planet did one timeline therapy session and we released all their baggage, all their stuffed down negative emotion, and we released the limiting decisions, we would live in a very different world. It is a very powerful technique that helps people heal from trauma without even having to talk about it, because the unconscious mind it already knows what happened. It stored all the memories. It already knows what happened. They don't have to talk about what happened. They need to get the learnings, because everything happens so we learn something, right? So once we have the learnings, then the unconscious mind can release the stuffed emotion from the body, which releases the trauma. And so that's also how we shift our thoughts, because if we shift the filters to run the love story, automatically the thoughts start changing because we've rewired the neurology. And this is all new modalities of healing this century. Like this is, 24 years old since it's been working with clients, and a few years of research before that. This doesn't go back hundreds of years like hypnotherapy does, or thousands with hypnotherapy. And yet it is incredibly powerful healing modality. And it helps with bringing people from Victim Island to Solution City as they start running the love story instead of the horror show.
Yeah, I like that. Is there a way that you can do this yourself, or that you can initiate yourself? Because not everybody is like ready or capable of doing these practices or therapies. What is it that people can do to, build towards this kind of program?
So as I said, definitely start with a stop sign and the gratitude journal. And then I really do love the work of Sydney Banks. He has a YouTube channel and you can watch his Hawaii shows. He had an enlightenment himself. He was Scottish. He then moved over to Canada and he lived on Salt Spring Island in Canada. And he never finished high school. He was a welder. He didn't have self-confidence. And then he was attending an event with his wife. And he literally had this this enlightenment, this thought that from speaking with another person that shifted his entire thinking. And it was literally a download. And then he started teaching others and became quite famous teaching others. And he has some great books. One of them is called The Enlightened Gardener that you can get on audiobook. And then there's The Enlightened Gardener Revisited. He has Second Chance and The Wisdom of the Pearl. That's another 2-set series. And then another book called Dear Liza. And then one of his mentees is a fellow by the name of George Pransky. And he has a book that I have right here called Life is a Metaphor. Super easy read. You can grab it on Amazon. And all of these are, as I said, talking about the 3 Ps of thought, mind, and consciousness. And the power of our thoughts. And that we have a choice when it comes to our thoughts. George has also written another book called it's on Amazon, George Pransky. It's called Mental Health. And it's like a Bible to the understanding of the human mind. And what I really love about their work and talking about the 3 Ps is this is the only arm of psychology that has come through to the world we live in today that hasn't gone through Freud. And what's really fascinating is Freud and his talk therapy and the history of that, which I learned in my trainings, really blew my mind, because I just accepted talk therapy was a form of therapy. And yet, as I've said, when we talk about something, it deepens the neurology. So talking about our trauma, it brings awareness to it, which is good. However, talking about it over and over again deepens the neurology. And I know so many people who go to therapy and then they feel like they've been hit by a train by the time they've left because they've relived that trauma. And the history of Freud starting talk therapy is fascinating. I learned it when I was doing my hypnotherapy training. So he initially attended the Nancy School of Hypnosis. And that was in France, and he wanted to work with hypnotherapy. However, he was unsuccessful at working with hypnotherapy. And the reason he was unsuccessful at working with hypnotherapy, because hypnotherapy is very easy to work with. You just need to have an unconscious mind, and you need to be able to follow the instructions of the hypnotherapist. However, Freud chewed the leaves of cocaine plants. And that caused all his teeth to fall out. So he ended up with wooden teeth. And back in the day when you had your teeth replaced when they were wooden, they didn't fit in your mouth very well, which meant you couldn't clearly enunciate your words very well. And that's why his hypnotherapy patients couldn't understand him well enough to be hypnotized. So he threw his arms up and said, hypnotherapy doesn't work for me. I'm going to do something completely different. And he literally said, I'm going to create a new form of therapy that is not for the poor and is going to take 600 sessions to help someone heal. That's a lot of sessions. And so he started,
story.
yeah, so he started his own form of therapy, talk therapy, and he had his patients come in and to his office, and they had to sit facing away from him or lie on the couch, and they did all the talking. He didn't do the talking because he didn't talk well. And you can imagine if you have wooden teeth in your mouth with saliva, you have really bad breath, which is why they had to face away from him or lie on the couch and not talk to him face to face. So that is the foundation of talk therapy. And I'm not saying talk therapy doesn't serve a purpose. It absolutely does. However, talk therapy is great for bringing awareness. It doesn't actually release the trauma. So people can use talk therapy to get to awareness and then move into other modalities to actually release the trauma. And I found that really fascinating to learn.
It is absolutely fascinating, and I absolutely want to dig a little bit deeper into that because, especially in Europe, Freud is like the father of all psychotherapy and all. Well, it has changed the last decades, but he has been for a very long time. My question is, Melissa, if it is that simple, I mean, I'm going to be very black and white here, but if it is that simple, what is keeping people from doing that, from taking these timeline sessions or going hypnotherapy? So why do we stay stuck in that pattern,
So
even if we
first
are
of all,
aware about it?
So first of all, with timeline therapy, it's very new, literally in the last 25 years. Hypnotherapy doesn't release the trauma. That's what timeline therapy will do. I use hypnotherapy after releasing the trauma. After we get rid of all of the negative emotions, the limiting beliefs, then we use hypnotherapy with all the beautiful suggestions that we give to the unconscious mind of what the person actually wants. We've cleared out all the junk, got rid of all the, that's what I talk about, detoxing the mental body and the emotional body. And then we put in the wonderful suggestions for what they want to be achieving. Anytime human beings, pardon me?
Can we do that ourselves, like with visualizations and imagery and things like that, that also work on the subconscious mind?
So hypnotherapy, yes, because all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So once you learn the tools of self-hypnosis, then absolutely, yes, you can. And my business partner and I, we teach self-hypnosis master classes so that people can learn how to use it. And it is a beautiful life skill. With timeline therapy, you do need to work with a practitioner who can guide you through that session so that we know that you are getting the learnings, that they're about self, that they're positive, they're present and future paced, et cetera, et cetera. So that one, you do need to work with a practitioner. As I said, though, this is all very new, and human beings, as a society in general, if we don't know how something works, we tend to push it down and we're a little bit fearful of it. And that's what's happened through the history of time over hypnosis. And with timeline therapy being so new, it's just less than 1% of the world even knows that it exists. Through our school system and through society, we're taught the tools of our conscious mind, the 10%. And we're not taught the tools of the unconscious mind. And now we're starting to understand the mind so much better. And now this information is getting out. And so it's just a matter of having more conversations like this, power talks, and having people tune in and listen and learn and realize that there are many ways to healing, and for them to be able to find the right one that works for them and accessing the other 90% that's in the unconscious mind, that's the power of healing.
What about people who say, well, I don't really have trauma. I don't really feel like extremely bad things happen to me. It's just life in general, I don't like the world I live in. I don't like the community or the society. It's not bringing me joy. I don't love my job, and I'm afraid to change. I'm resistant to change, things like that. So it's not like the big trauma, but all these little things, feeling, anxious about the future, feeling not secure, feeling, well, I mean, we live in a world where we believe that everything is safe and secure and that we are in control, which I don't think it's true. But it has been like all these strong beliefs have been shocked the last couple of years, like nothing is certain. How do you deal with that? Because
So
people
first
can
of
be the
all,
victim of just life happening, right?
yeah, absolutely. So a few things in that example that you gave. First of all, every single human being has experienced trauma of some sort, of varying degrees. So yes, some have had more than others. Everyone has experienced some trauma. Timeline therapy, though, is not just for trauma. We are taught to stuff down our emotions from the time we were a very young child. It's programmed into us. Boys don't cry, big girls don't cry, etc., etc. So we do have stuffed down emotions, and that over time, those stuffed down emotions create a toxicity in our body. We do have limiting decisions and limiting beliefs, and in that example that you just gave, there's so many limiting decisions there. And so timeline therapy can be used to release all of that and allow them to then open up their mind to the possibility, right? They're feeling stuck because they don't have any solutions, and that's what makes us feel stuck. When we can instead work with the tools of the unconscious mind to get unstuck and open up to the possibility of that we couldn't even think of before because we were so stuck in one path. And now all of a sudden there's all these solutions that are over this side that we couldn't see because we were only focused here. Right? So again, you get what you focus on. If you're only focused here, you get more of this. If you expand your focus, then you can see other opportunities that are out there. And this is where these tools are so powerful. There's another tool that I use called a parts integration, right? Because as we go through life, we leave parts of us here and parts of us there. And when we're in a part, each part has some of the resources and not all of them. And so when we're in the part, we're not whole, and then we can't see all of the resources. So we're limited in what our opportunities are. And so we bring the parts back together, and then we have all of the resources available to us, and all of a sudden solutions arise. And every single one of us has had the experience of being in the shower and suddenly a brilliant idea comes to us of something that we could do, or driving, or maybe it's in the middle of the night. It's when our conscious mind stops thinking and our unconscious mind is open to receiving those resources from the higher self. We've all experienced it.
Absolutely. It's like our ego is off guard, right?
Exactly. And though, our unconscious mind will never lead us astray. What we haven't been taught for most people is how to tap into it and choose to go access it right now. Usually we're just at the whim of, we relax enough, we shut down the conscious mind enough, and then a solution will come to us. What if we could actually use the tools to go get the solution from the higher self that we need in this moment? And that's where this also becomes really powerful.
I like that. I also like what you say about this fragmentation, because this is something that I also feel with many people, especially in a very simple setting. I mean, we have the professional. I work with women leaders. We have the professional women, and then we have like the personal setting where they're like a mother or a partner or a daughter or whatever. And then sometimes there's another. And so it's all very, very fragmented. And I love what you say, that if you are capable of putting the whole back together and understand that we are one, whole person, and that everything is interacting and that everything is interwoven, and that we do develop capacity and capabilities and skills in certain roles that are easily transmittable in other roles as long as we just keep those connections. I love that. I don't know where that comes from, that we try to fragment everything while we are one person. Does that resonate?
Absolutely, and that is the most frequent part that I bring together is the woman who wants to be the kick-ass career woman or kick-ass
Mm-hmm.
leader, and the woman that wants to be an amazing mom to her children. And we get it in our
Exactly.
head, I can only do this, or if I do this, then I'm going to be a bad mom, or if I'm a great mom, then I'm going to be not, be the leader that I need to be at work. Cancel, cancel, cancel. And when we bring it
Yeah,
all together, it's really powerful. And people start to realize, oh my goodness, I can do this and do this. And just
exactly.
recently,
Yeah.
I did this for a woman who was thinking about, turning down an opportunity because it would mean she's away from her young family too often, etc. And we brought the parts together, and all of a sudden she went, oh my God, I just realized I could take my family with me and we could have holidays around my speaking engagements. And I'm like, yeah, that's
Mm.
just one solution that's just come to you. And she's like, oh, I want to look into this. And I said, there's
Yeah,
more, so there's more ways to do this, more solutions
absolutely.
now that you're open to
We
seeing
look
them.
for both ends instead of either or. We are very much in this
Exactly.
either or mindset. Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes. Yes,
beautiful.
absolutely.
When you look at when we are talking about a conscious mind, the whole development of our newest brain, the prefrontal cortex, that's where we also find our creativity and options and opportunities and trust and connection. Yet it makes me feel with what you are talking about that even if we have access to our prefrontal cortex and we activate it, and there's a lot of exercises to do that, very simple practices also to do that. As long as in your subconscious there's still these blockages, we can be in our prefrontal cortex as much as we want to, we will not find certain solutions because they're just blocked by an unconscious mind, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so we need to bring it into our awareness and then use some of these techniques to shift it. And I don't know if you know the
Mhm.
work of Dr. Bruce Lipton. I had him on my podcast earlier this year, and he's talking about exactly what we train, and that is that the first 6 to 9 years of our life, it's just all download, download, download of all the programs that we need in order to live our life. So, and all of the learning. So, first of all, we learn to smile and we learn to roll over, and then we learn to crawl, and then we learn to walk, and then we start learning language, and then we start learning the rules of the household and the rules of going to school and the rules of society in general. And we are in what we call our trance state at that point. It's our theta brainwave. And that's the brainwave where we are entirely in our unconscious mind. And it's the brainwave that allows children to learn and absorb things like sponges, as we say. It's why they can learn language so easily, because they have so much to learn in the first 6 to 9 years of their life. That all becomes a program because our unconscious mind has a lot to do. Its number one task is keeping us alive. So it's keeping our heart pumping, it's keeping us breathing, it's keeping our food being digested and moved out to the cells, it's filing all of our memories, it's running our emotional body, etc., etc., etc. So when it likes to do things efficiently. So when it finds something that works, it will keep running that program. And we are literally going through our days, and we're 90 to 95% of our day in trance, which means we're 90 to 95% of our day running on programs
Mhm.
that are outside of our awareness.
Yeah.
And it works until we get stuck. And then when we get stuck, we don't know why we're stuck. And every single person who's stuck is stuck because there is an outdated program. We update our phones every time there's a new update that's pushed out, right? However, there isn't a push out to the human update. We have to choose to update it ourselves. And
Mhm.
again, this is all relatively new anyway, so people aren't aware that how their unconscious mind works, and that we're living our days running on programs, and that we can update them. And that's all of the work that I do with, training people in neuro-linguistic programming. It's literally retraining the programming, the language, because what we say matters, because our unconscious mind is always listening, right? And the neurology, and using timeline therapy and hypnotherapy in order to give people all of these tools to be able to move forward in their life and get unstuck and live in Solution City and not be stuck on Victim Island. And for me, when I learned that, it was such a big aha.
People that had like a life-changing experience doing this. Can you document that a little bit?
So many people, when they come through these programs, initially we focus on even just the language of it. We want to get into the unconscious mind. So they come to us with a problem, right? And, our first question is, why are you here? And they're like, because of this, blah, 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 blah. And we have very specific questions that we keep asking in order to get into the unconscious mind, because that's their conscious problem. And we want to get to the root of that conscious problem, because we want to do the greatest amount of change with the least amount of work. And so once we get to the underlying unconscious problem, that is a trigger for many, 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 many conscious problems. So if we release this one in the unconscious, it releases all of these up here in the conscious. And what very often happens is we start asking these questions and using some quantum linguistics that are designed to confuse the conscious mind so it doesn't even know how to answer, but the unconscious mind does. People have such profound ahas just in the intake. They're like, oh my God, I get it now. My life makes sense. Now I know what's happening. Okay, thank you. And we're like, wait, that was just the beginning. There's more. We can work with you some more to actually give you neurology now, to rewire neurology, to have you taking the action that you want to take. And after a timeline therapy session, we kind of joke that before people go in and when they come out, they're a different person. And they literally are. They're glowing, just, happy, shiny people is kind of that song that we've taken, because they feel lighter, fresher, and they didn't know what they were carrying. And that's the thing, until you release it, right? They get so used to carrying it. It's like you don't see your children grow because they grow so slowly. And then if you haven't seen them for a while, other people are like, oh my goodness, you've grown so much, right? It's like if we just add a little bit of weight every single day to that bag of rocks you're carrying, you don't notice it until you let it go. And then you feel lighter and just more vibrant. And sometimes it's really hard to explain the response people have to timeline therapy, because they're so blown away just by how they feel and how they walk away from it. And then what we see is we see them taking the actions that they want to be taking in order to go towards the life that they want, whereas before they weren't taking those actions. And so that's proof that they know they're getting the results because they're taking the actions that they said that they would take. And so all of our work is based on evidence procedure, which is based on behavior. We don't do anything on feelings, because feelings change from 1 minute to the next. So it's all based on behavior. And in our questions, when you have the results that you want, what will you be doing or not doing that's different to now? And we get all of that information, and then we see them doing it. And that's what's really profound for people.
Beautiful.
So there's a lot of documentation of it, and we can actually guarantee our results in writing for people, because we are calibrating on behavior. And that's really unique to this aspect of the coaching industry, that we can actually guarantee results in writing.
Beautiful. Melissa, how can people get in touch with you? What's the easiest way to connect with you?
So I have 2 businesses. You can see Your Guided Health Journey behind me, and that's where I work with my clients one-to-one. And the website's literally yourguidedhealthjourney.com, and the email is melissa@yourguidedhealthjourney.com. And then I also have the training business with my business partner, Billy Admi, and it's called Amplify Impact Academy. And that's where we train other practitioners, coaches, counselors in these tools for them to be able to use them to work with their clients. Although we have people join because they want to be a better leader, a better parent, a better partner, because all of this work is for self first. And then once we've worked on ourselves, then we can work with others. And so that business is Amplify Impact Academy, and the website is amplifyimpactacademy.com, and the email address is info@amplifyimpactacademy.com.
Beautiful. We will make sure that everything is in the show notes or in the comments below. I don't remember, Melissa. Did you have a free gift also for the people listening in or watching this?
Yes, I would be happy to offer a free gift given our conversation today, and they are daily suggestions for your unconscious mind. So remember, you get what you focus on. So it starts to shift your focus, and it's a virtual card deck. So you download the card deck to your phone, and then it will just scroll on your phone when you click on it. And then what you do is you take a screenshot, and then the screenshot is basically picking your card for the day with a positive suggestion for your unconscious mind. And that's your thought for the day. And every time you have that stop sign come up, you can literally go back to this daily suggestion and start to feed your unconscious mind with these powerful suggestions. And just notice that between that, the stop sign, the gratitude journal, your life starts to feel easier and you start to feel lighter, happier, and more peaceful.
That's beautiful. And that's a very, very original gift. I look for maybe for the people that are here live. Is there a way to put this in the chat, the link to that, or is that too hard? If not, I will put it in the
No,
show notes and in the
I
comments.
can grab it. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, you can put it in the comments so people can grab that. I will grab that one. I like that.
Give me 1 second. And I will put that in there for you. And it's really fun.
I see here Magdalena, but I know her root now is Helen. Thank you for this podcast. You're very welcome. Thank you for being here. And so if you are joining us later and you missed a part of this, we will put a replay also on this LinkedIn event page and on YouTube. I will send you all the information in order to find the complete session with Melissa, which is amazing.
I'm just typing it in the chat now.
Beautiful. And then in the show notes and in the comments, you will also have the link to Melissa's podcast, which is also amazing. And I will put the link also of our talk that we had, Melissa, in the Boundary Breaks Collective for people who would like to learn more about your personal stories of resilience and inner power. I think it's important also, not only in terms of what you bring, but also who you are in order to bring this. So I will put all this information also here below. Oh, there's the gift link.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And thank you very much for putting that there as well, because it shows people how I use these tools in my healing journey, right? Not that I just stand up and speak about them. I use them. I walk my talk, and these are life skills that people can learn and implement literally in their life every single day, which is what I do. And it really helped me earlier this year when I had a diagnosis and I healed my own way. And, I've had a great year and I've lived life fully. And we can, when we have the tools and we choose to put our focus where we want to put it.
Absolutely. Absolutely beautiful, Melissa. One last word for the people here.
I just want to say thank you all for being here. Thank you for choosing to care enough about yourself to show up and keep learning. And if any little piece of this talk that Helena and I had today resonated with you, then, that's a sign that it's just your unconscious mind going, follow that path, And, take some time to learn more, book a call with me to have a conversation and see if this is something that you want to learn more about for yourself, or techniques that you feel would help you on your journey right now.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Melissa, for co-creating another episode of the Power Talks for Remarkable Females with me. Thanks everybody for listening in, for watching, for doing the replay. Thanks here, Lexi and Magdalena, and everybody that was here adding to the comments. And if you are on the replay, don't hesitate to put your comments or your questions, or just reach out directly to Melissa. We make sure that all the information is there. Hope to see you next week again, and have a great week ahead. Thank you so much for being here. Bye bye.
And thank you for having me, Helena.
You're so welcome. It was great having you again, Melissa.